2 years, and her body still doesn't know how to lie. I tighten the measuring tape around Harper's waist. It's dropped 2 inches, and feel the tremors rippling through her porcelain skin. With a felt tip pen, I trace harsh black lines across her collarbones, like I'm marking a defective piece of merchandise. Shoulders are uneven. This needs fixing. The waist? Too much. Did leaving me leave you this wrecked, Harper? Harper shudders under my pen. Her face flushes deep red, just like it always used to. But she only keeps her head down, offering not a single shred of resistance. Of course she doesn't dare fight back. Harper already told me it was all about the money. Pathetic. Now I'm using that very same money to buy the place she loves more than life itself, just so I can trample all over her under the title of image consultant. But this is only the beginning. Harper, and my dear audience, subscribe to the channel to see exactly what sick little cheerleader Chloe is capable of. 2 days ago, my world was still a perfect crystal block, a perfect future, a stack of credit cards that never betrayed me, and a filthy rich fiancé, arranged by my mother. Everything was beyond perfect. At least, that's what I told myself ever since she walked away and left me completely hollowed out. Being dead inside was the only way I could survive. Until my nightmare and my most precious possession reappeared before me, shimmering under the stage lights. Harper. It seems I wasn't the only one who noticed her glow this time. My fiancé, Jason, with that lofty, above-it-all look I despise, ordered the lead actress of the city's hottest play to attend his frat party just to greet the guests. Jason sat on a leather chair like a young king, his arm draped over my shoulder, but his eyes were pinned to the door. When the door swung open, the disgusting whistles of frat boys erupted. Whoa, is this the Broadway lead? She's a snack! One guy poured water onto the hem of her dress while the others howled like a pack of hyenas. Every neuron in my brain felt like it was about to explode. My hands gripped my glass so hard the veins turned blue. 3 more seconds. If they didn't stop in 3 seconds, I was going to smash this glass on the floor and use the shards to carve off every hand and eye that dared to touch her. Enough! Get away from her! Jason's voice rang out, dripping with fake righteousness. He stepped forward and draped his coat over her shoulders in front of everyone. A ridiculous hero saves the damsel act. The frat boys froze for a second before one of them burst into a mocking laugh. Look at that, Chloe. Your fiancé's about to switch owners. I guess the fresh taste of a young lamb always smells better than usual. Blonde hair, about 5'11", earring in the right ear. I'll remember him. I'll collect that debt another day. But today, I have to thank that bastard for giving me the perfect identity to torment Harper. The icy liquid drenched her face, dripping down that pathetic, trembling chin. She looked at me, stunned, as a thick mist began to swell in her eyes. Damn it. Why did the sight of her shivering make me feel so excited? You're replacing me with this? Some low-class girl with zero self-respect? I didn't think Jason's taste was that bottom tier. Before Jason could react, I lunged forward, grabbed Harper, and hauled her out of the room toward the restroom in the most brutal way possible. But my taste? Chloe's taste is exactly this. Breaking in fresh, tender little lambs like her. The moment the restroom door slams shut, I shove Harper hard against the cold tile wall. Why did you come back? You left me in the gutter. Who do you think you are? You think that innocent look is going to save you from your pathetic, miserable poverty? I humiliate her with the most vicious words I can find, my hand clamping down on her jaw, squeezing until she squirms, gasping for air. But then, the look she gives me isn't one of hatred. It's total collapse. Staring back at me through her tears is a desperate, agonizing longing, an infinite, devastating love that completely knocks the breath out of my lungs. My rage twists into a frantic, desperate ache. I kiss Harper amidst the sound of running water and the pungent stench of bleach. It's a fierce, demanding kiss, punishing her for daring to show up, punishing her for making me feel so incredibly vulnerable. You belong to me, Harper, even if you're standing next to anyone else, Every inch of this flesh is still mine. The stage should have been Harper's passion, but under the power of the Woolworth family, I've turned it into her personal iron cage. Under the title of image consultant, I sit below, clutching a coffee the groveling director bought for me, my eyes indifferent as I watch her wither under the crushing pressure I've built. Slap! The 10th slap rings out, dry and sharp. Harper collapses onto the wooden floor, her cheek a burning crimson, her breath coming in pained gasps. Stop! What kind of acting is this? You're as stiff as a corpse. The click of my stilettos echoes with lethal precision across the floor. I shove the lead actress aside to face her. Slap! A hit much harder than the others sends Harper reeling backward. The entire crew holds their breath. Watch closely, Harper. I'm going to demonstrate exactly what the pain of betrayal looks like. I grab her trembling chin, forcing those eyes to look into my madness. I hurl a brand new stack of scripts onto the floor, right at her knees. Kneel. Read it. Every word I've added is a shard from that rainy day 2 years ago. Jason bolts upright from his seat as I grab her face again. He barks a cold order. Enough! Stop it, Chloe! You're crossing the line! I growl back. Shut up! I'm just doing my job. Don't forget, I have total authority over this pathetic play now, including... I trace a finger lightly over Harper's cheek and smirk. Kicking our sweet, talented lead actress out on our ear. Harper panics, whispering hurriedly. Chloe is right. I need to practice harder. Ha! I know exactly how much you're enjoying this little game of ours, Harper. You play the innocent role so perfectly. What an actress you are. I settle down, acting as if nothing happened. Jason, satisfied, returns to his seat. But don't count on it. In the scene where Harper is supposed to kiss the male lead with those wet, ruby lips of hers, damn it, there's no way I'm letting that happen. I kick the male lead out of the way and press my lips against hers. Jason stands up in a shock. The crew is stunned. I don't give a damn. I linger, tasting the remnants of her lips before tossing out an explanation that even I find ridiculous. Demonstration. In the days that followed, Jason acted as if I didn't even exist. He was constantly hovering, flirting, caring for her, chasing Harper, and it made my blood boil. Who the freak does he think he is, even dreaming about her? The more jealous I got, the angrier I became at her for not rejecting him outright. Harper, if you want to play cat and mouse, fine. Let me help you. I tossed her a thin, translucent silk slip dress, a shade of white so pale it felt haunting. Put it on. And stand under that sprinkler. Chloe, it's late. I want to go home. Harper clutched her shoulders, her voice trembling. I raised my DSLR, my gaze icy. Do you want to keep this role for your scholarship? Or do you want me to call my mother and cancel everything right now? Choose. She collapsed, sobbing, but eventually complied. The roar of artificial rain hit the stage. Harper stood there, the silk dress drenched and clinging to her body, exposing every curve and her absolute terror.
I need more desire in those eyes. Look into the lens like how you left me on that rainy night, I barked. That's it, that exact face. Let me capture it clearly. Let's see exactly how much this beauty of yours is worth. Harper trembled so violently she could no longer stand. Her lips turned ashen, and her body crumpled onto the cold stage floor. When Jason burst into the theater, frantic with worry, all he saw was Harper kneeling at my feet, soaking wet and humiliated. He let out a low growl, looking at me as if he wanted to tear me apart, before dragging her away, preparing to bolt toward the theater exit. But as he pulled her away, Harper's eyes locked onto mine. The look she gave me was pure pleading. She was silently begging me to stop him, to pull her back into our twisted fake reign. Because staying in my beautiful nightmare was 100 times better than being saved by him. Jason was playing the furious hero, completely oblivious to the fact that he was carrying a girl whose heart would always belong to the monster. My blood boiled with a lethal jealousy as his hands touched her damp skin. I gripped my camera, wanting to snatch her back. Instead, a cruel, icy thought flickered, freezing my rage.
I forced a nonchalant smile. Take her, Jason. Look at how pathetic she is. He paused, suspicious. I casually adjusted the coat he'd wrapped around Harper. Take her to a hotel, somewhere quiet. Help me look after my lead actress, won't you? We can't have her ruining my $1 million investment. Disgusted, but frantic, Jason hurried out. As he left, I quickly snapped a photo of their retreating silhouettes, looking exactly like a pair of lovers escaping in secret. I waited 2 minutes in the dark, then pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. Hello, Auntie. It's Chloe. I'm so sorry to call late, but I'm worried. Jason just left in a terrible state. He mentioned wanting to see you immediately to discuss family matters. I smirked at her strict voice. Yes, please call him. I'm afraid he isn't safe driving alone right now. I hung up. With her controlling nature, Jason would get a command call within seconds. He might crave Harper, but he'd never disobey the woman holding his inheritance. He'd be forced to dump Harper at the nearest hotel and rush home to face his mother. You want to touch her, Jason? In your dreams. I scrolled back to the photo on my camera. Tomorrow morning, this image is going to be absolutely devastating. Overnight, the name Harper was officially branded with the label Broadway's side piece. I stood in the shadows, watching my handiwork spread like a virus, eating away at the future and the scholarship she so desperately craved. The next morning at school, the air around Harper was thick with contempt. The cheerleaders, my former sisters, made her life a living hell. During a scuffle, her collar slipped to one side, revealing deep purple mark. The crowd erupted in laughter, branding them as proof of a steamy night with Jason. They had no idea those marks were made by my own hands in the dark corner of the dressing room the night before. The paparazzi immediately caught the scent of drama involving the heirs of two top families. They screamed, flashing their lights, surrounding a desperate Harper. Just as she was backed into a corner, the roar of a heavy engine tore through the air. I appeared, my face hidden behind a pitch-black helmet. Without a word of explanation, I draped my expensive coat over her, shielding her from the humiliating marks and the public's prying eyes. I revved the engine, whisking her away from the frantic press. The feeling of her trembling hands gripping my waist was the only thing real in this play full of lies. I had just ruined her, but I was also the only person she could cling to right now. Admit it, Harper. You can't get away from me. I kicked the kickstand down and pulled off my helmet, letting my blonde hair spill out messy in the wind. Harper sat there, her hands still trembling, clutching my coat as if letting go meant disappearing into nothingness. I turned around, reaching out to brush a stray strand of hair from her face. But Harper suddenly shoved my hand away. It was a weak resistance, but one filled with immense pain. "Don't touch me!" Her voice was raw, choked with sobs. Harper looked up at me, those eyes, once so clear, now bloodshot and drowning in a sea of tears and hurt. "Why are you doing this? You ruin my reputation. You make me look like absolute trash to the whole school. And then you play the hero who saves me? Chloe, what are you? A demon?" I let out a smirk, a cruel mask for the flicker of heartache rising within me. "I'm the only thing you have to cling to right now, Harper. You should be thanking me." "Thanking you?" Harper laughed through her tears, a sound so bitter it felt like a blade. "You are so stupid, you know that? You don't even understand why I did what I did. You don't know anything. You act like walking away didn't completely destroy me." Harper's voice cracked, raw and bitter. "You have absolutely no idea how many nights I stared at your name on my phone, begging myself not to call you. I spent 2 years trying to outrun your ghost, Chloe." She stepped closer, her trembling hands fisting tightly into my collar, pulling my face dangerously close to hers. "And now you're finally here? But I don't even recognize you anymore. You're just cruel. Do you even know how goddamn exhausted I am? Her eyes completely gave way. Harper collapsed against my shoulder, sobbing like a child who just had their only toy stolen. Her resistance vanished, replaced by pure, raw despair. I stood frozen for a second, my hands hovering in the air before finally dropping to wrap tightly around her trembling back. I buried my face in the crook of her neck, inhaling her familiar scent mixed with the salt of her tears. Then why did you leave? You don't get to play the victim. You made a choice that day, Harper. You chose for us, and you turned me into this, so don't you dare act surprised. I tilted her chin up, forcing her to look into me and only me. My thumb traced her trembling lower lip, a touch so desperate, yet bitter. It was meant to soothe her pain, but the heavy weight of my gaze was a silent promise. You are never getting away.
Only 10 minutes left until the dress rehearsal. I slipped into the private dressing room I'd arranged for Harper, amidst the sweet, heavy scent of her perfume and a deathly silence. On the rack, the cheerleader costume, the symbol of the glory she hungered for, was waiting. I ran the scissors through the fabric, shredding her dreams into useless scraps. She walked in, frozen at the sight of the wreckage at her feet. Despair was vivid in her tearful eyes, but I didn't allow her to crumble. Not now. Don't cry. I have a replacement for you. I began to strip off my own uniform, layer by layer, right in front of her. The heat from our breath made the cramped space feel suffocating. Harper tried to back away in fear. It's almost funny. She acts like she's never seen this body before. I pulled Harper toward me and forced her into my clothes. You look good in my clothes. Go out there and have your main character moment, but don't forget whose scent is literally wrapped around your skin right now. You're still mine. I let her go, leaving her with a flushed face and a uniform still radiating the warmth of my body. The show began, and there was no turning back. Harper truly is a real actress. The tension and confusion I'd caused earlier vanished the moment the rehearsal lights hit her. She shone. She was passionate, she cried and laughed with her character. I stood there dazed, momentarily captivated by her radiant smile. But then, her face suddenly went pale. Her footing slipped while she was performing on the high scaffolding. Her body plummeted. In that instant, I felt my heart stop. No! Every mask of hatred shattered in a heartbeat. I lunged forward frantically, using my own body as a cushion for her. A bone-shattering pain surged through me as we slammed into the hard wooden floor. I could feel a hot liquid seeping out, soaking the clothes I was wearing. In that moment, I wasn't her enemy anymore. I was just a mad woman trying to hold on to my own life. Was it because of me? Was it because I pushed her too hard? Or because I made her rehearse in the rain until her health gave out? My exhausted vision was slowly swallowed by darkness, and the last thing I saw was her being carried away by medics. I woke up to a pain that felt like my shoulder was being ripped apart. Before I could even clear my head, a stinging slap landed across my face. Crack! The dry sound of the slap echoed through the hospital corridor. You hurt her? Jason roared. He didn't care that I had just saved Harper. He only cared about keeping his toy in one piece. When the doctor announced that Harper needed a rare blood type to survive, Jason grabbed me by the collar and dragged me toward the emergency room. Give her the blood. This is the only thing you're still good for. I watched the warm blood from my body slowly flow into her arm, ruby red and cruel. I could hear the nurses whispering nearby. They said I was pathetic, a fiancé discarded and replaced. They said she was shameless, a homewrecker who didn't know her place. Oh, it sounds just like those trashy soap operas you see online. But how could they ever know? A sick sense of satisfaction was surging through my chest. I reached out, tightly gripping Harper's unconscious hand.
Listen to me, Harper. From this moment on, my blood flows inside you. I burst into a frantic, crazed laughter in the middle of that stark white room. You can run to the ends of the earth, but you'll still carry a piece of me inside you. We are truly one now. That truth became an invisible shackle. I used it to tease her, to torment her every time she tried to evade me. Harper could no longer deny me, because I was buried deep within her every vein. The heavy thud of Jason's footsteps pounded against the wooden floor of the hallway. That nuisance was back, but today I had a little game to entertain him with. I suddenly yanked Harper into a cramped, dark prop closet and slammed the door shut. In the darkness, thick with the smell of rotting wood and old fabric, there was barely enough room for our two bodies to press together without a single gap. I locked Harper into the corner of the closet, using the full weight of my body. Even in the dim light, I could see the deep blush burning on her cheeks, and that faint, infuriating smirk playing on her lips. Oh, she was absolutely enjoying this. Suspicious, Jason called out loudly. Harper, are you in there? He was standing right there, separated from us by only a thin layer of wood. I could see the absolute terror in her eyes, her breath hitching and dying in her throat. Just as I braced myself for the door to be flung wide and the exquisite look of shock to appear on Jason's face, a doctor's voice called out from the hallway. It pulled his attention away. He left, but I didn't stop. I let out a soft, triumphant laugh. Straightening her collar one last time, I looked with satisfaction at the dazed expression of my Broadway lead. Good girl. Now go out there and try to play it cool. You can keep running that pretty mouth of yours, but the way you're shaking right now, yeah, you are a terrible liar. The opening night of the most important play, the golden ticket that would decide whether Harper got her scholarship to study abroad, finally arrived. I couldn't stomach the thought of another man touching her on that stage, so I knocked out the male lead, threw on the heavy football uniform, and donned the silver mask. I stepped into the spotlight, facing her as a complete stranger. She froze the moment I touched her hand. My scent, my blood flowing through her veins. Was it possible she recognized me? But that look of shock passed quickly. She threw herself into the role with a frantic intensity, her eyes searching mine, no longer with resentment, but with a profound, bone-deep sadness. At the climax, Harper went off script. She knelt, her small hand touching my cold silver mask. I'm sorry for leaving you alone in the dark for so long. My heart trembled. Was I delusional to think those words were meant for me, for Chloe, and not the character I was portraying? Harper took the initiative, pulling my mask up just enough to reveal my quivering lips. Before thousands of spectators, and with Jason sitting right there in the front row, she kissed me. It was a kiss devoid of violence, stripped of possession. There was only forgiveness and healing. Applause thundered through the theater like a storm. My ears went numb, and an overwhelming surge of happiness rose from the very depths of my soul. The play was a triumphant success. Harper's bold improvisations had secured her the prestigious scholarship she dreamed of. We stood in the wings, watching the glow of the spotlight finally fade. Wherever you go, I follow. I shed the skin of the Woolworth heiress, ready to face the wrath of my family and my psychotic fiancé. We were going to escape this country, leaving behind the chains and the vendettas. I had used my blood to bind her, but now she had used her love to set us both free. Her arms tightened around my waist, her lips pressing against my trembling back. Heaven or hell, I didn't care, as long as I was with her. The screech of tires tore through the asphalt. High beams from behind flooded the street, accompanied by the wail of police sirens and the guttural roar of black SUVs. My gut told me this was anything but a good sign.
Chloe, they're chasing us! Harper screamed into the wind, her voice cracking with terror. I caught a glimpse in the rearview mirror. 3 black SUVs packed with Woolworth guards, led by Jason's Rolls-Royce, were in a frantic pursuit. They didn't intend to pull us over. They were trying to crush us into a corner. "Hold on tight!" I roared, pinning the throttle. The motorcycle shot forward like an arrow piercing the New York night. I swerved through narrow alleys, dancing on the red line of death. Sirens blared, and the sound of clashing metal echoed every time the SUVs rammed into my tail. "Faster, Chloe! Drive faster!" Harper sobbed, her face pressed fiercely against my spine, her hands gripping my jacket like a lifeline. I never want to go back there. They'll completely destroy us. "Baby, I'm sorry for all the pain I caused you," I screamed back over the roaring wind. "I swear to God, I won't let anyone touch you again. I will protect you with my life." But life is not a play with a happy ending. A flash of blinding white light, everything inverted. I slammed on the brakes with everything I had. The tires screamed against the asphalt, the smell of burning rubber thick in the air. But the speed was too high, and fate was too cruel. Everything flipped. We were thrown onto the road, skidding meters apart. I tasted the salt of blood and the suffocating stench of gasoline. A searing pain tore through my brain, but I still tried to crawl toward Harper. She lay there, pale and motionless, amidst the wreckage of the shattered motorcycle. I used my mangled hands to pull her into my arms, my breath hitching through ragged sobs.
"Harper, look at me. Can we start over?" I prayed for a final spark of hope, but before she could answer, another blinding light pierced the dark, the high beams of the luxury black car pulling up beside us. Jason stepped out, his leather shoes clicking leisurely across the glass-strewn pavement, as if he were taking a stroll in his own garden. Before calling for an ambulance, he loomed over us, leaning down to whisper something into Harper's ear. Her face twisted in sheer panic and agonizing pain. She looked at me, then pushed me away with a desperate strength, her tears falling like shattered crystal onto the dark ground. "No, I can't. I'm sorry, Chloe." I went numb. Darkness swallowed my vision in that very heartbeat. The wail of a distant siren echoed, but I didn't want to hear or see anything else. My heavy eyelids finally fell shut. I bolted awake in the hospital, yanking the IV tube from my arm. Blood backflowed into the plastic line, but I couldn't care less about the mess. I staggered out into the hallway, searching for the room next door where I'd heard a nurse call out Harper's name. I needed an explanation. I needed her more than anything else in this world. But the sight inside was more devastating than the crash itself. Harper was in Jason's arms. The same hands that had once clung to my shoulders were now wrapped around his neck with a feverish intensity. My heart shattered into a million pieces. I stood there, blood from my IV site still dripping onto the sterile white floor. Without a single word, I turned and walked away, taking my dead soul with me as I left that place behind.
Harper's POV. The moment the sound of Chloe's retreating footsteps faded, I shoved Jason away with everything I had, my throat convulsing with a dry heave of pure disgust. I moved to bolt after that silhouette, desperate to hold her back, but Jason's grip clamped around my wrist like a shackle. "We had a deal, Harper," he said, his voice like ice. "If you walk out that door, I will make sure Chloe's life is a living hell. Do you want her to live and hate you, or die in total isolation? Choose." I froze. My shoulders shook with every jagged, suffocating sob. I stared at the door.
The spot where the person I loved most had just walked away, carrying a heart I had intentionally shattered. In the end, I didn't run after her. I just stood there, letting the scalding tears stream down my face, accepting my role as the ultimate traitor, just to keep the woman I love alive.